Stats versus facts. Ayy, stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hello, back. He back. On the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stats versus Facts. You already know where we at. Sports Talk. It's your boy, Marsh. And I'm very happy to have with us today special guest. Goes by the name Brandarius Gilmore, better known as BG. What's going on, bro?
Hey, nothing much, man. Nothing much. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And without me even really saying much, you can already see who we rocking with. See the banner in the back. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Them Ravens.
Ravens. Ravens.
Absolutely, man. Well, shoot, like I said, we're happy to have you on the show. G-Reg, C-Max, Swish, they should all be here a little bit later in the show. But we got to get started with this, especially the Ravens versus the Steelers, man. Let's just go right into it, brother. So, Ravens end up losing that one, 28-24. Steelers undefeated at 7-0. And the Ravens are now 5-3. 5-2. Lamar Jackson had a rough day. 208 yards, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles that he lost. Did throw 1 touchdown, I believe.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. So he was a 2-2-2 guy. Right, 2-2-2 guy. Rush for was it 80?
65?
65. I'm off right now. I don't have my list right in front of me. But yeah, really struggled. Ben Roethlisberger didn't have the greatest day himself. Put up 2 touchdowns, and he had only about 160 or 80 yards. 180. So they pulled out the win. I mean, it was a Steelers led for the first half. We're up 77. I was about to say Wilson. Jackson threw that first pick six, kind of got them back on track. Steelers defense did their job, but then the Ravens were able to get some. They were able to get some ground, get some ground game on. Dobbins did well, 15 carries, 113 yards, 7.5 yards per carry. I mean, BG, let me just let you break this down, BG. Break this down for me, brother, because this is your team.
Ben Roethlisberger, 21 of 32, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did not look like Big Ben from the past. Felt like we were getting to him. That offense looks very vulnerable right now. Lamar had he was 13 of 28, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, turning the ball over way too much. I don't think I've ever seen him turn the ball over the way that he did in that game. But personally, I think that he wanted it too much. There's times where he should just run out of bounds. There's times where he should slide like Kyler Murray does. There's times where, just go down, let's get to the next play. But there's some times where he just makes that mistake. Like you saw when we're down there in the red zone, he reaches for it, fumbles the ball. Like there's no need for that. You don't just go down, right? Just get the next play. J.K. Dobbins showed out. 15 carries, 113, 7.5 yards per carry. Mark Ingram's our starting running back, but I think that game showed that J.K. Dobbins should be getting more touches. Possibly starting. I think that he should start. As a fan, he should start over Ingram. But, Mark Ingram does, he's just that downhill runner. I think now that he's older, he doesn't do, that jump cut, juking ability that J.K. Dobbins brings. But we also have Gus Edwards, Gus the Buzz, 16 carries, 87 yards, got the touchdown, 5.4 yards per carry. I mean, going into this game, I didn't think we were going to be able to run the ball like that, but we just strictly went into the holes and we were just running it up. So with our offensive line, last year we had the 2nd offensive line in the league. This year we have the 23rd offensive line in the league. It hurts us that Marshall Yonder retired, man. I miss that man, but we took some big hits that game, losing our all-pro tackle, losing our starting guard, rookie Phillips. He came into training camp. He showed up. He's, he exceeded expectations and he was starting. They're both out right now. They're both on the IR, so that really sucks. So, but that game right there, that was Lamar. That game strictly, that was Lamar. I think everybody can admit that. There's been games in the past where it's been kind of iffy, trying to defend him. But I know that this game right here, it was just too much, too many turnovers.
So I know a lot of people have said that, it does go on Lamar, specifically because of his passing ability. But I want to ask you, do you think it's because he doesn't have guys to throw it to, or do you think he just has to develop better as a passer because he's too risky?
I would say, how do I break this down? I think that this year alone, it's been Lamar's passing ability. I've watched the games where we get over the top of the defense. His deep ball specifically, it's not that good this year. It's actually worse than last year. I've seen Hollywood be wide open a couple of games and just overthrows it. The accuracy's not there. I think that, it falls on Lamar and it falls on the coaches, because I feel as if this year we got rid of the 3 tight end set, and last year we thrived off of the 3 tight end set. I believe last year we led the NFL with 16 touchdowns scored when using 3 or more tight ends in a formation. This year we have 0 because we have not lined up in 3 tight end sets. I like our receiving core that we have now. Willie Snead surprised me. He had over like 100 yards. He was out there talking that talk to the Steelers. He was out there. He looked like a real Raven out there, man. But the thing is having Hollywood Brown as your number 1 receiver, I don't think that's going to cut it. He's not Tyreek. I believe he gained over like 20 pounds of muscle. It was great this offseason coming in, but we haven't gotten him going. He needs the ball. He needs those touches. And I think that, we should get a receiver. I think everybody knows that. We should bring in another receiver. Willie Snead is nice. Miles Boykin is nice. But just a clear-cut guy that can just, when the game's on the line and you need somebody to show up for you, it has to be that person. And, we just don't have that receiver right now. Mark Andrews is nice, but, when you're double teaming the tight end, who are we going to go to?
Right. It would have been nice had the Ravens been able to bring in Antonio Brown, who is Marquise Brown's cousin, right? Because he's the number 1 wide receiver, right? And Hollywood Brown, if he's your best receiver, in a sense, kind of reminds me of Amari Cooper, just as far as their playmaking abilities of being your number 1 receiver. He's an excellent number 2 receiver if he's on your team. But for being the number 1 receiver, you can't win that way. So if the Ravens do get a number 1 guy that I think Lamar feels a little bit more comfortable passing to, such as a Julio Jones, such as a DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Metcalf is becoming that guy, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, then I think that he may take that next step in his passing game. But right now, I don't think he feels comfortable with throwing the ball to those guys, which is why he holds on to it or he ends up running. So
I think the offensive line is the big key too. I mean,
that too.
The number 2 offensive line in the league, and then going down to the 23rd, and now he's just lost 2 more. I mean, it's, for what he's doing, it's all right, but he should be doing better because, watching him out there, his decision-making needs to be better. If he wants to go to the next step, you are the reigning MVP. You're held to a certain standard. So they're going to criticize you. So he just has to take that next step, man, and just lead the team out there.
Absolutely. But at the same time, too, if you have the best offensive line, you're getting all this time, right? But nobody's open or nobody's able to get open, you're going to what? End up running. So that receiving core has to get better. You're going to have to get another if they're able to draft somebody, because I don't know who you're going to be able to trade for in order to, get to come to that team.
Trade deadline just went.
And just passed, right? But right. I'm specifically saying in the offseason. Now, I will say this. If I am the Ravens by next season, possibly even the season after that, and it would be a risk because he just got injured, I would go after Odell. That's the number one guy. That's the number one guy.
Before he was hurt, man, he was looking nice. They finally started going. He had that breakout game against the Cowboys.
But
I know the Cowboys defense,
but the thing with that game, if you watch the replay, who threw Odell that first touchdown pass? Jarvis Landry, right? Not Baker Mayfield. And when Odell got that second touchdown that pushed it, the game out of reach, he did what? Caught a reverse and ran it in. He didn't catch the ball. So they're not targeting him. They're not using him because Baker Mayfield is not a good quarterback for them. Lamar Jackson, I feel, would use Odell Beckham Jr. to his, capabilities. But we got to see what he's going to look like coming off of that injury because that injury, Achilles injuries, or it was not Achilles. It was Achilles or MCL or ACL?
I think it was his ACL, if I'm not mistaken.
It was ACL. Yeah, the ACL because it's how the ACL injury, it's tough. That's the injury that's tough to come back from, especially if you're a football player and as explosive as you were. So, and he probably won't be back to Odell until, maybe 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Ravens are looking to try to get a guy in the short run, because I don't think Odell is going to want to be in Cleveland next year, I would say, go after this man. If you're the Ravens, you don't have anything to lose. You guys can stay afloat, but then to get Odell working and trying to come back, and then you were able to get him back, and then Lamar build up chemistry with them to where now your running game is solid, as it has been, but you now have a guy that you can rely on as a number one receiver, bruh. I'm telling you, that's all.
When D-Hop was being traded, we were one of the teams that was trying to get D-Hop. That's
I remember.
But the Texans did not want to trade D-Hop to the AFC, to Baltimore. But, man, if he would have had D-Hop, and for what they gave D-Hop away for, they could have had Gus Edwards. They could have had Mark Ingram. They could have had anybody they wanted. I would have went all in for DeAndre Hopkins, man. So.
No, I agree. And I look at what Arizona's doing. And Kyler Murray is still growing. To me, he has the potential to be another version of Russell Wilson because he has that arm capability. Accuracy is still a little questionable, but he can run too.
That running ability, man. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback juke defenders out. Like, besides Lamar Jackson, the way that Kyler does it, and he hits some nasty moves out there, man, in open field, and it's pretty nice. I like the way that he plays, and he's looking real nice. And I think it's crazy to me how, in Arizona, he already looks better than Baker Mayfield. Personally, to me, I think Kyler.
Without a doubt.
I think Kyler, and even going past to last year, I mean, even with the talent that Baker's had, man, it's kind of crazy being the number one overall pick. And look at what Baker Mayfield has done. I mean, he does not look good. I will say that.
He doesn't look good at all. Yeah. He has more commercials for Progressive than he does wins. Think about it. You
take away, I believe, like 4 to 6 of those wins against the Bengals, and it just looks terrible because that's all his wins comes against the Bengals. That's when he balls out. So.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Because I mean, look at what happened when they played some really good competition this year. Ravens. What happened? They got smashed.
Man, was nowhere to be found.
Beat them down, and then. Who did they actually?
The Colts. I would say the Colts game. The Browns beat them, if I'm not mistaken. That kind of shocked me because I had the Colts going in there and just beating them up, and out of nowhere, I mean, the Browns didn't look good against them.
The Browns this past week lost to who?
The Raiders at home.
Yeah. So it is interesting. So moving forward. The Ravens now this coming up week are going up against – go ahead and check the schedule.
Colts, 5-2 Colts.
They're going up against the Colts. Colts have a good defense, but offensively, Phillip Rivers has still been a question mark, although he did play better this past week. I would expect the Ravens to win that game.
Yes. So this game right here – it's I think personally it's a setup game. Marlon Humphrey tested positive for COVID. He's gonna be out this game, if I'm not mistaken. we have about 5 to 6 players that were in close contact to Marlon Humphrey. So now they're on the COVID reserve list, which means they can't practice all week. No contact.
Right.
Evening. And then some key players, if I'm not mistaken, Patrick Queen, Judon, LJ Ford, starting safety Deshaun Elliott. These guys, they're not going to have no practice reps. So outside, they have to get it together and just be, just talking to the team and just trying to see what's going to go on. Traveling to Indianapolis, I'm a little worried about our defense. We have a lot of defensive players they're not at practice right now. So, but I do expect I do. But that Colts defense, man, I don't know. They get a lot of picks. They get touchdowns here and there. And if I'm not mistaken, the Colts defense is top 5 this year with the addition of DeForest Buckner and Xavier Rhodes.
Yes. Yes. But against the run, I think they are. I know against the pass they do well, but against the run, I mean, you've seen what the Ravens did to a Steelers defense that was supposed to be good against the run, and the Colts are up there too. But ultimately, because of the anemic performance that Phillip Rivers has been putting on, unless somehow he can get it together and they can get T.Y. Hilton involved.
He starts looking like the San Diego Phillip Rivers back in the day when he went to the AFC and stuff. I'd be so upset, but this is clear cut. The Ravens should go in there and win. The next 4 weeks, though, it's going to be tough for the Ravens, man. It's gonna show what we really are, who we're made of. We got the Colts. We go after them. We play the Patriots. We go to Foxborough.
Win that one.
We play the Titans. Derrick Henry. And then we play the Steelers.
That's going to be tough.
And then the Steelers again, man. So these next 4 weeks is going to be tough. After that, Cowboys, Browns, Jags, Giants, Bengals. Just the next 4 weeks, minimum, I want to go 2-2. Let's go 2-2. Show me, what we got. I think we're going to beat Colts, Patriots, but that Titans and Steelers back-to-back, that's going to be pretty tough, man.
Titans, I'm not too worried about for y'all. I understand Derrick Henry is good, but Ryan Tannehill is still a question mark. Yeah. So
they got a steal with Desmond King for a 6th-round draft pick. I thought I saw it before the trade deadline. I was like, what? A 6th round? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that man, I wish the Ravens would have got him because that man was great. Or maybe the Cowboys would have got him. For a 6th-rounder, y'all could have gave up a 2nd-rounder.
Don't talk to me about the Cowboys, man. I don't want to get pissed off this morning. Or not this morning. I don't want to get pissed off today. Anyway, I would expect the main game to me that the Ravens need to be worried about is that game against the Steelers. Because if they lose that second game against the Steelers, they're not going to win the division. And that's going to put them in a tight spot, especially now that the playoffs is at least, 7 teams now, maybe possibly 8 teams.
Only the number 1 team out of the conference gets a bye, so that number 2 team will actually have to face somebody. So who's ever at the bottom, I mean, I don't know, man. I personally, I think it's going to be Steelers or Chiefs that could get the 1 or 2. Ravens, possibly, depending how these next 4 weeks go. But, I mean, personally, the 2 teams that I'm worried about in the AFC, Steelers and Chiefs, especially Chiefs, they look unstoppable. Some games they do, but there's some games, those in-division games, against the Raiders, the Chargers, Mahomes is struggling against them.
He has been, and they don't look as, especially since that Super Bowl, they just haven't looked as unstoppable to me. So we'll see.
That first game when I saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire
went off.
When they played the Ravens, I was sick to my stomach, man. This man Mahomes had all day. He was just running around. It was like he was on Madden, basically. I was sick to my stomach.
But they also now have Le'Veon, and he hasn't done much yet. But if they can integrate him in there and get the Le'Veon that we know or we've seen in the past, that'll be tough. So, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back with my man, Brandarius. And we are back here with my man, BG, Brandarius Gilmore. Yes, sir. And we kind of on that Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C. swing, So let's go ahead and get into these Wizards. as Brandarius' team. They had a tough year. John Wall being out didn't help. Okay, and he looks pretty good from what I've seen in practice. We'll see if he's going to be able to come back and do well. Bradley Beal, we already know what he does and what he's brought. I mean, the man was a monster this year, just taking those next steps. And they have some decent pieces too. Thomas Bryant, I actually like Thomas Bryant. He can actually be a top 5 center in the next couple of years.
He was a great pickup from the Lakers. He was actually on the Lakers. He didn't get any time. We traded for him, and he came in. He started being very efficient. That 10 points per game, 10 rebounds. Then his field goal percentage it was amazing. It was off the charts. And now
he's able to hit the 3.
Yeah, he's developing his shot. Now he can hit the 3 sometimes. Just out of nowhere. So he's looking pretty nice. I like him as our center.
Yep. And Rui Hachimura went down with some injury. Had he stayed healthy, would have definitely been in the running for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. A lot of people don't even talk about Rui, but that was a great pick, honestly. Pick him up. I wasn't expecting him to be that efficient. But then again, it's a nice, efficient pick. He gets the job done, Maybe he could develop and become something really nice with the Wizards.
All right. Now, point guard, y'all had Ish Smith. He's a good backup. He's a good backup.
That's a nice way of saying it. Good backup, not a starting ability, but good backup.
Good backup.
We traded for him late, tried to come in there.
Right.
But, he's good backup.
Right. Y'all traded Otto Porter, 2 years ago?
Man, I was disappointed with him. I believe he was the 3rd pick in the draft, I want to say, from Georgetown. Maybe. I know he was top 6, if I'm not mistaken. So
I'm going to have to look that one back up. Continue.
At a certain point, he was one of the best 3-point percentage and defensive players at the small forward position. I believe it was like, Kawhi, KD, LeBron. He was down there like not, he was top tier, but the bottom was top tier, you know what I'm saying? And then he just fell off, man. It was kind of disappointing to see. So,
right. And so, yes, he was the 3rd overall pick by the Wizards. And it's funny because I think he reminds me – well, I think he kind of favors a Lionel Richie a little bit. A young Lionel Richie. But he just never really got to that next step of, being that kind of guy that could help the Wizards, being that really, I guess the 3rd option, kind of like what a Middleton could be.
He was at some point he was the 2nd option because Bradley Beal wasn't, that clear-cut guy yet. We were trying to get rid of him, but going into some of the playoff games, Beal disappears, man. There's a lot of series.
Right.
If you look back, I believe our most recent one was against the Raptors, that first-round exit. Bill just disappeared. I don't know where he was at. I don't know what was going through his mind, but he just disappeared, So.
Right. And Porter he never had that capability to me to be that number 2 option. He was more of a number 3 option. But, if they would have still had him there with Wall, with Beal, having Hachimura and then Thomas Bryant, that's a solid lineup. But
it's for the East. That's nice. Maybe getting that 8, 7, maybe 6, potentially 5th, depending on how Beal and Wall's playing. It would have been pretty nice sneaking to the playoffs.
Right. So, with the upcoming draft, right, what would you like to see? Who would you like to see the Wizards draft? Because personally, I think there's 2 things in 2 areas where the Wizards need to upgrade. That's at the small forward position and then bench production.
That's true. Personally, a lot of reports are coming out. We got the 9th pick. I don't know how we got the 9th pick. That's like 2 years that we don't even get a top 5 pick. I don't know what they're doing in that draft, but they need to get us a top 5 pick, man. But
look who got number 1.
That's ridiculous.
And the Warriors got number 2. Like, come on, man. Anyway, please continue.
They don't even need the number 2. But it is what it is. Personally, I don't know too much about that guy from UFC on I don't know how to pronounce his name, on Yoke Okongwu or something like that.
Yeah, they called him Big O. He played with Alonzo and LaMelo at Chino Hills.
Yeah. They have
He's a
us
big guy.
center. Yeah, a lot of reports have us drafting a center, and if we
Which
are
doesn't
going
make
to
sense.
draft a center, I don't understand because I don't know if it was last draft, the draft before that, I actually wanted Robert Williams from Texas A&M, and we passed on him. So
And now he's with the Celtics.
yep, and he's on the bench, which I feel like he could have been starting with us. He could develop, but I like Thomas Bryant. Personally, if we're gonna go center, I like Opie Toppin. I don't know if he's gonna drop down, but personally, I like that guy. As far as the three and maybe the four, I don't think the four, but the three and the bench, I don't really know too many guys that can come over here and just start producing for us because we do have Troy Brown at the three. The Wizards are really high on him. That's who they took over Robert Williams from Oregon. He's actually developed, and he's looking pretty nice each year. He hasn't went down, but personally, I don't see anybody that they're going to take at the small forward. Maybe some guys overseas. That's a lot of guys that I don't know too much about them, that they could fall down in the draft. I don't know, man.
So there's a couple of guys that I think that they could specifically look at as I'm getting to my list here. There's a guy from, if I can get it. Okay, so there's a guy by the name of, I think Patrick Williams. Okay, he's a wing from Florida State.
Oh yeah,
That's
I know that too.
Right. He's a small forward. That's somebody that y'all could possibly invest in getting. He's right now on one specific draft. You actually this would actually be good. Y'all might draft Isaac Okoro from Auburn, and he is a wing defender. And people are saying he's kind of a Justice Winslow plus, which Justice Winslow would actually be good if he wasn't hurt all the damn time. So Okoro could actually come in and do some good stuff for you guys, especially if it's just off the bench. So that's actually either him or I'm bad at remembering these guys. Okoro or Patrick Williams, I think, could actually be a good pickup for the Wizards and maybe even supplant Troy Brown. Not saying that Troy Brown is bad, and he has developed, but for me, I would say have him come off the bench, maybe.
For sure.
But you would probably want a veteran to be starting in that spot, which I would understand.
You could hit it. Trevor Ariza was actually pretty solid for us at that 3 spot. We took a hit there.
He was.
He would guard, KD. He would guard those.
Right.
Now we can't really match up the way we want to because I feel like Beal and Wall they're good defensively. They can hold theirs. And it's just that 3 spot that we kind of need somebody, which I think this year they were putting Rui on a lot of people. And that's just, he's young, he's going to, they're going to be able to get past him,
So let me ask you this question. I'm thinking as though every time that I think about a possible trade, right, I'm thinking about both teams and how both teams would get better. So I want to run this by you. The Spurs have a guy by the name of DeMar DeRozan, right? And he's 31 years old, good mid-range jump shooter. He can still score the outside, although he can't shoot 3-pointers. Decent defender if he can really get it going. And the Spurs have the number 11 pick. Would that be a trade the Wizards would be interested in entertaining and trading the number 9 pick to the Spurs along with probably somebody on y'all's bench? I don't know what the rest of y'all's bench looks like.
We have Bertans, came from the Spurs.
Yeah, and trading back Davis Bertans. Yeah, exactly.
Troy Brown, Ian Mahimi, Shabazz Napier. We have a couple guys that are just
right. And Mahimi was actually on the Spurs at one point too. Yeah. So, and the Spurs do need a center because I don't know if they're going to get it. So, DeRozan pick for a Mahimi and Bertans trade along with that 9th pick. How do you think that ends up, turning out? Can the Wizards win with DeRozan? Because I actually think he would be a decent fit there.
For sure. I think personally, I would take it,
Mhm.
but I think salary cap and everything like that. It's kind of tricky because Ian Mahinmi, I believe he won that championship with the Mavericks, and the
He
Wizards
did.
went all in on him, and his contract is still hitting to this day. And he gets paid to just get injured and come off the bench. He doesn't start, so it's kind of ridiculous. I'm tired of that. Bertans,
Mhm.
that he should be starting somewhere. I think if we didn't have Rui, Bertans would be starting. He's a great six man. He was actually up there for the six man of the year debate. I think he was like top 5, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Personally,
he was. He got injured a little bit, which kind of
yeah.
hurt.
Personally, I would, but I don't know too much about DeRozan. How did he do this year? Because if DeRozan was on the team and Beal was back, it's clear cut that when Wall and Bill are together, Bill's getting the ball. We're going to get him going. Averaging 30 points per game.
Right.
He had the 7th highest scoring game this season. It shows that
Right.
clear cut, he needs to go out there and get buckets for us. Wall's going to facilitate. Right. He's going to guard the best, the best guard on the other team, the 1 or 2. I think DeRozan at the 3 would be nice. The only thing that worries me is his 3-point ability.
His 3-pointer, and there are certain times where he does play some ISO ball, but they're looking at the Spurs. That's the caliber players that the Spurs have on their team is kind of, Beal and Wall are definitely trustworthy players that I think, DeRozan would thrive with, and he would definitely have to.
East is weaker, compared
right.
to I think that would be best for a lot of these not star players, but these players that are up there. Go to the East, man, and just try to go make a run with one of these teams that are down right now.
Right. And DeRozan really didn't want to get traded from Toronto. He got forced out, as we know. Now, one last question before we go to break. I've always said, right, and you may disagree with me, which I would understand, but I've always said that the Beal-Wall tandem is okay, but I don't think it'll ever lead past a specific point, right? Mm-hmm. I've always felt, to me, the person that would pair up better with John Wall is C.J. McCollum. C.J. McCollum from Portland going to the Wizards and having Beal go to Portland makes both teams better. Here's why I'm saying that. Because John Wall, as we know, can get a little shooting happy himself, right? And he wants the ball and shoot, and that frustrates the hell out of Beal. McCollum is more of a guy that, okay, I'll spot up. If I need to take it, I can. And he's a better spot-up shooter to me than Beal is. On the other side, in Portland, when Lillard gets double-teamed and he may start off the game 1 for 7, he ends up coming back with a nice game. If McCollum starts off the game shooting trash, he's really not going to come off from that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And with Beal, I think Lillard would trust Beal a little bit more to be a guy that can get the shot. I'm not saying McCollum can't, because he can, but Beal's a little bit better at doing that. And I think Lillard would have a little bit easier time and more confidence in him. So what do you say to that particular trade?
I think that before the season started, if you would have told me about that trade, I would have, thought about it and probably said yes. But after this season and the way that Bradley Beal showed what he can do by himself, this man, come on now. I would say he is top 5 shooting guard, debatably top 3 because Clay was hurt. His stats and not even making the All-NBA team, not making an All-Star.
Right.
This season coming up right here, you're going to see Wall and Beal out there because I think a lot of people are, counting out John Wall. They don't think he still got it because of his contract, which being paid, the 4th highest contract in the league. That's ridiculous. But not to discredit C.J. McCollum. I think he's really nice. And, but I just don't think that McCollum is on Bradley Beal's level. And I don't think that even for McCollum. Straight up, a year ago, yeah. Now, I can't approve that because of what Beal has showcased to us.
I've always thought Beal was a little bit better of a player, right? With McCollum, he has never had his own team. Obviously, he wouldn't because, he'd still be with John Wall. However, he's okay. To me, it seems like he's okay with being in that just, spot-up shooting role, right? Yeah. Where Beal needs to have the ball in attack, which he will because Lillard not all the time is going to be able to drop, 60, especially if they double team him. He needs to be able to throw the ball to somebody to get
The thing
money.
about John Wall is he thrives off of that pick and roll, which I thought the season before he got hurt again, he was doing the pick and roll mid-range. He lives off of that. These pickup games that we see, he's killing. He's shooting. When the NBA games are on, he's doing that pick and roll. He's still missing. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, he's not as bad as like Russell Westbrook shooting, but it's not bricks, but it's just like, come on, man, you got to knock these down. They're not double teaming. You're clear off the pick and roll. You got to knock them down, man. So, I think it's nice though, because he kick it out to him, spot up shooter, shoot. Because I've seen Bradley Beal some games, those spot up shots. He's iffy, especially playoff games.
Right. Exactly. So, and McCollum has, with Portland, a Portland team that really had no business beating Denver in 7 games, right? Last year, ended up going to the Western Conference Finals. So we know that he can step up big, especially being on a Wizards team where John Wall is not the greatest 3-point shooter for whatever reason. He has to improve that. He can help out with them, with that young core that they have, also getting a good draft pick. I think McCollum would have been a perfect fit. And then the same for Portland. I think Beal would have been a great fit. Now that they do have Carmelo, it would be a little crowded. But a year ago, I had been advocating for that trade. Now I'm a little less on it. But still, I think those two, interchanging on those teams would make both teams better. So, but it's an interesting conversation. And now if that did happen, I would say DeRozan definitely to the Wizards would be smart. That would definitely be smart. But anyway, we're going to say goodbye to Brandarius. Thank you, brother, for being on with us, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. You got any tags you want everybody to follow you at, brother?
Hey, man, you can follow me on Instagram at BrandariusG, on Twitter too, same at. If you want to talk about discussions, I'm here. Stats versus facts, man.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, again, we appreciate you very much. We will be right back. You should be joined by G-Reg and C-Mac and maybe Swish. I don't know where the guys are at, but we going to be right back, y'all. And we are back. Yes, sir. Thank my man Brandarius Gilmore for being on. And now we got that man G-Reg in the building. What's going on, G-Reg?
Let's go.
Still need
here, baby.
money.
I still need that money. I'll let you know, everybody, when I got enough money.
Need that money, and it ain't funny, honey.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir. So, let's go ahead and talk about them damn Cowboys, man. They lost. I lost. Foolishly bet $5 on them, but it was only $5. That's why I have to give Swish whenever. But Cowboys lost 23-9 against the Eagles. A horrid game. Ben DiNucci threw for 40 times, 21 out of 40 as a third-string quarterback. But he still had more yards than Carson Wentz, though.
Yeah. Wentz tried everything enough to let us win.
Wentz had two interceptions, but he also had 2 touchdowns. Fulgham, 1 touchdown. He had 78 yards, 4 receptions, and he did what he needed to do. Defenses looked bad. I mean, it was just a bad game. It was a bad game. But DiNucci may not even be starting this next week, which we'll get into at a later date, but he had some weird throws he was trying to get, like from sidearms. I was
Try to do the Mahomes
sidearms. Like, I was like, bro, what? And he was talking mess before too, and I'm just like, this guy here.
To be fair, the receivers definitely dropped a couple that could have helped him.
Oh, a couple. They dropped a lot of them. And I was like, what happened again? What happened again? The same thing that I have been saying. Why the hell did you pay Amari Cooper $100 million if you're not going to use him? If you're not going to use him, get him off the damn books. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. And it's not that he's a bad receiver. He's an okay receiver, but he's a second receiver. He's second option receiver, man. If you want to do anything, get rid of Michael Gallup and get a number one receiver in there. Get a number one option in there to go with Amari Cooper and then CeeDee Lamb. That's what I'm going to say. Because Amari Cooper being your number one receiver, you're not going to win games. Period. Not good enough. It's not good enough.
I think with Dak, he was pretty good.
Not where we could have been. Ezekiel Elliott, he had an okay game. 13 carries, 67 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, it's just –
this is what makes me mad right here is we
okay.
19 times, run the ball 19 times, 3.3.
19 times, I'm sorry.
3.3 yard average. We see Tony Pollard over here making runs for – he's averaging like 5.7 yards a carry, and he only gets like 7 carries.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like, can we give Tony Pollard the ball more? Like, he obviously is the more explosive bat. He's obviously hitting the holes harder. I mean, it's just really I haven't been this frustrated since I remember in watching Miami when they had Jay Ajayi, Damian Williams, and Kenyon. And I was like, I watched them run out Ajayi and Williams, and I was like, do you not see the film that you see that Drake's the more explosive back? He's obviously making plays. Like, can we get more of that? And it's the same thing with Tony Pollard. Can we please get him some more touches?
Yeah. I mean, Zeke is the superstar, apparently. You know, the guy who's you paid $90 million to when you should have really paid DeMarco Murray back then and not paid Sean Lee, who played in his first game all season.
I'm anti-pay running back, so I wouldn't pay either one.
Well, I know, but at that particular point, they tried to run him in the ground and pretty much just threw him out. You should have kept him and then lighten the load. Been better off, but that's neither here or there. Jalen Smith needs to be traded. Get him out.
Yeah, it's
that guy
sad.
can't tackle. He's getting beat. Shouldn't have paid him all that money.
Kind of sad to watch him play linebacker.
DeMarcus Lawrence exposed. He's not all that good. He's okay, but your best defensive player is Aldon Smith, who's been out the league for about 3 years and came back and he's been getting to the QB. He's a good pass rusher. But DeMarcus Lawrence is not that guy. I'm sorry. You overpaid him too, in my opinion. But that's because they panicked that they weren't going to be able to keep him or keep anybody like, well, he's good enough. No. Stop selling for good enough. Start going to be great.
Their philosophy is to draft and then sign long-term, grow within.
Yeah, their philosophy is just to draft and ruin people's careers. That's what their philosophy is. But nevertheless, and I
thought they played hard though, at least, and Diggs got 2 interceptions. So,
and Diggs got burned too. The secondary is what needs to be fixed first. I'm sorry, they got to fix that secondary because if you can't stop anybody from passing, because a lot of these quarterbacks can still throw the ball, you're not gonna win.
Yeah,
Point blank and period.
I need them to fix the D-line because I think D-line solves 2 problems. It solves the running game, stopping the run, and then if you can pressure the quarterback, your cornerbacks don't have to be exposed for a long time.
Fine, but you had DeMarcus Ware. Marcus Spears on that defense too, right?
Yep.
Swaggo, as they call him. And he just, regardless, they were able to get pressure on the QB. What happened? The Cowboys still got torched because their secondary was trash. There's no reason for you letting go of Ha Clinton Diggs. Have a veteran leadership on that secondary. You have none. Like, Diggs is your biggest name, and he's a rookie, and he's gonna be looked at and targeted because he's young. Like, he'll develop, sure, but you need to get some veteran leadership there on that back end, man. It's bad.
I mean, they messed up letting go of Byron Jones. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yes, they
did.
have
Byron Jones as the 1, and then you have Diggs as a 2. Now we're cooking.
Right.
You got to find a safety, and that'd be it.
Right, I agree. But right now, until that secondary gets fixed, Cowboys will never win anything. Because that D-line, you can draft a guy, and they do pretty well drafting linemen. I will say that for the Cowboys. They do a decent job for drafting linemen, whether it be offensive or defensive. But secondary, no, they don't. It hasn't been. Secondary and coaching, those are the 2 areas that the Cowboys are the weakest at. That's what they need to do.
I
Mike
definitely like
McCarthy.
the San Francisco model is, have a dominant O line, dominant D line, and then you just that's how you roll. And that's kind of like I like the model. I would like to follow for the Cowboys.
Right, and this is why there's been speculation to have Jim Harbaugh come from Michigan to the Cowboys, which Michigan kind of wants him to leave. Go ahead, put the buzzer. Push the buzzer. Jim Harbaugh. I wasn't a huge fan of it at first, and now I'm kind of like, okay, I could possibly see that coming in. He would be a bad coach, but I think too now obviously Kaepernick would clash with Jerry. Jerry would never want a guy like Kaepernick.
All lives matter, Jerry.
Yeah, but Jerry wants to win now, and hey, if that doesn't work, you're gonna need somebody. So
I don't know what they're all messed. I don't know. They mishandled the Dak contract. Now I don't know if they're going to fumble it and just go ahead and sign him for whatever, and then we're destined to be in cap hell for a while. I mean, I don't. It's just a mess.
I don't know. It's a mess, man. So, but it is what it is. Is the Cowboys now on the Eagles side? I mean, they're in the lead in the division outright at 3-4-1, ahead of the Cowboys, Washington, the Giants. I mean, at least the Giants are playing hard. I got to give the Giants credit for that. Their offense is trash, but their defense is actually not bad.
Yeah.
So
for sure, I think the Eagles will be fine once. It's going to be interesting when Alshon Jeffrey finally plays, and then they get Ertz back, and then
if he plays,
all that talent with Rager coming back, and then you got Fulgham developed.
Mm-hmm.
If everything comes back together, they got a pretty potent offense. I mean, obviously you don't trust Wentz at all, but
which now I'm telling you, man, that Wentz to Indianapolis for Phillip Rivers trade doesn't look so bad because Phillip Rivers put up decent numbers, and he's not going to turn the ball over like Wentz has been doing. So I would consider possibly looking at that. You can go ahead and push that. You can push that button. But
I'm not trading for like 40-year-old Phillip. How old is he? 38, 35? What is he?
Yeah, but that's my thing. If you're going to be ready to possibly play Jalen Hurts, just ride out Phillip Rivers for his last, year or 2 years in the contract, and then put in Hurts.
I think they just have too much belief and too much money in Wentz to just give up on him. I mean, obviously the plan is to groom Hurts. You don't draft him in the second round just for nothing. So he's obviously going to be groomed to be the heir apparent. They don't long term. They don't see it with Wentz. Right.
So I don't know what they're going to do. They're definitely going to need to do something. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. But they're still probably going to win the division. I mean, unless they lose to Washington again, which could happen because, I mean, somehow Washington will come out and have a good week when they need to in some division and lose everybody else.
Their D-line is healthy. It's dominant.
They do have a good D-line, but they just don't have anybody on the offensive side. You know, I was hoping Alex Smith would come back, and you know, this is bad. This is a bad division, man.
The division needs help. Needs Jesus.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, y'all, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss some college football and some NBA. Actually, you know what? Before we go to break, let's go ahead and get into that college football real quick. And this particularly pertains, this actually particularly pertains to Trevor Lawrence, right? Had to sit out because he had COVID, and they barely squeaked by against Boston College.
Yeah.
Like, they were getting whooped. And came back behind. What was that quarterback's name, Greg?
DJ. I'm gonna go with DJ something. I'm gonna go ahead.
DJ something. The dude's name was because he got a long name. Let's just say that.
Yeah, sorry, my guy. I'm not a pronunciation guy.
DJ Ugalele.
There we go.
Ugalele. Yes, that guy. I mean, Travis Etienne pretty much did everything other than that. 20 carries, 84 yards, 1 touchdown, along with 7 receptions for 140 yards and 1 touchdown. He was on fire. Like, he's going to be a good draft pick.
Yeah.
For sure. But now,
Super
Trevor
underrated.
Lawrence is not going to be playing this next week against, that's right, Notre Dame. So, how do you think Clemson is going to fare? You think they're going to fall? Because if they do, they're not going to fall, obviously, out of the top 4. I mean, they'll probably still have a shot to get in and play for the college football playoffs.
I definitely think the ranking people are going to be like, well, Trevor didn't play. It's not fair. Let's keep them close.
True. But at the end of the year, I believe that they are in the one side of the conference compared to Notre Dame's in the other side of the conference, so they still might meet in that ACC championship game. I don't think they're on the same side. If they're on the same side, then yeah, it's going to be kind of hard for them to get that bid, especially if Ohio State continues winning and Georgia may win out or something along those lines. So be very interesting. But with Trevor Lawrence being out, it now gives a shot for Justin Fields to have a shot at being the Heisman Trophy winner. And there was another guy analysts were talking about today. I'm so mad I forgot his name. He's been playing.
It's usually a quarterback.
It was Justin Fields and QB from Alabama.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones has been playing well. He's been playing very well. Yes, he has. Mac Jones has been playing very, very well, which gives me belief that Alabama might end up coming and winning it all, just like Alabama does.
It just sucks that Waddle got hurt.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith has been tearing it up.
Mm-hmm. He sure has. So we'll see what comes with that, but that'll be a very interesting game.
What was your prediction for Clemson versus Notre Dame? Who wins?
You'll find that out on the next show. But before we go to break, UT ended up beating Oklahoma State in overtime. That was okay. 41 was it 41-34? Okay.
41-34.
Yeah, 41-34. That was just why now, UT? Why do you want to win now? You couldn't beat Oklahoma before?
The pressure's off.
Yeah, I guess so. They're just like the Cowboys. When the pressure is off, they thrive.
Yeah.
When the pressure is on, I mean, it's a Texas team, so what do you expect? You know what I mean?
The defense.
Yeah, definitely. And we also had an upset as Michigan State beat Michigan 27-24. Michigan was number 13. They thought this could be the year. No, this is not the year.
Nope, they ain't got no shot ever. It's Ohio State
much.
Program.
Yep, it sure is. So there you have it. The breakdown of college football. And we are going to take a quick break now, and we will be right back. And we are back. Yes, sir. Me and the man G-Reg back from break. You already know. Got to get into this NBA, though. Starting off with what's going to happen with this new season. So the NBA or the commissioner, the players union, they're all going to meet in a meeting on Thursday, and they're going to discuss what's going to happen moving forward with the new season and proposing that December 22nd start date with a 72-game regular season. So we're going to see what's going to happen. I mean, LeBron came out and tweeted he would be cherry picking the first, almost the first half of the season. That's what he got AD for. I said, well.
You got to do what you got to do, LeBron. I understand.
You got to do what you got to do, So.
Yeah, I think they're going to start. They don't have a lot of leverage. I mean, then if they decide not to do the games and start late and then start 50 games, then the owners are going to tear up the CBA. And then you're going to face a lockout and all kinds of stuff. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either. So more than likely, that's probably going to happen. I mean, for the rookies, it's going to kind of suck because they're not going to have a lot of time to work with their new teams. But, I mean, hey, after this year, next year will come up, and we'll see. More than likely, things will probably get back to normal with the NBA, especially if they're able to get fans back in, this, that, and the other. So, this is probably be the last irregular season that they're going to have. But it is – I understand where the players are coming from. They just finished, especially the ones that were in there 3 months in the bubble. But at the same time, you had 4 months off before, and some teams haven't even met or practiced since, the
Oh no.
Sorry about that. It's technical difficulties, but I am back. We haven't had some of those teams haven't practiced together since March. I mean, the Warriors are all going to be fresh. The Hawks, the Pistons, even though it's Pistons, the Cavs, the Cavs. Exactly. The new look T Wolves with Towns and D'Angelo Russell. They're gonna look ready. And
what seed are they gonna be when the playoffs start? A lot of people are in my DM talking about Towns and D'Lo are legit. So if they're as good as everybody says they are, they should be a top 6 seed.
Nah, I don't even know if they make the playoffs.
How are they elite then?
Oh, I just said they're. I never said.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you personally. I'm just talking about my DMs. They've been blowing up.
Oh, I'm sure that they have. They're a good duo. They're a good duo. Don't get me wrong, but duos, you gotta have more than that. Which is why they need to go ahead and just draft Anthony Edwards. So now you have a trio of young fellas. But to my next point, the Timberwolves have been looking to possibly trade the number 1 pick and acquire another star. So I have a proposition for them. And I probably said this before, and I'll say this again. Go ahead and trade that number 1 pick. You can have the Spurs number 11 pick and DeMar DeRozan. And go ahead and take Derek White too.
Jesus,
and you can, hey, they're gonna need something. And then y'all can go ahead and
DeJounte.
You can go ahead and give the Spurs back. I would say Malik Beasley, but he's probably
he's got the
exactly. Yeah, he's actually probably going to. You give the Spurs somebody that y'all don't need, Tyus Jones or James Johnson or something that you're we need to get his contracts off the books. Give it to the Spurs and we'll just waive him, and then you have the number 1 pick and be able to draft James Wiseman and go from there. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely good for the Spurs.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if they do draft Anthony Edwards, I heard the Warriors are possibly thinking about, trading their number 2 pick. So I would say the same thing.
Marshall's
give
me Wiseman any way possible.
Yeah.
Give me Wiseman.
I saw highlights today, guys, and it was of David Robinson running the floor, and I see Wiseman could pretty much do the same thing.
Everybody listening to this pod right now, go check out young David and how athletic and wild he was when he was young. It is crazy to see how good he was.
If David Robinson would have been just a few years younger, and him and Tim could have been more dominant, man, you understand they would have
that back injury that really messed him up.
That's true. But, when the Lakers came together with Kobe and Shaq, I mean, I know he had the back injury, but at the same time, that was a hard team to beat. But
Shaq was two of them.
Right. But then, if Robinson would have been a little bit younger and, you have him and Duncan, clogging up the paint with Bruce Bowen, with a young Tony Parker and, young Manu, Steve, man, the Spurs could have won back to back, especially that year when they lost that Derek Fisher last second shot. That wouldn't have happened. That
one hurt.
Definitely would have happened. Yeah. So that would have been, man.
Young athletic David in his prime.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was the scoring champion. He was an MVP. He dropped 70. He had a quadruple double.
But I definitely can see your comparison. I mean, his fluidity and his athletic ability is kind of comparable to Wiseman.
Yeah, and Wiseman is 7'1". He's a cornerstone piece. Like you're not gonna find somebody with this talent. Like I know they said he's could be equate to a Chris Bosh. I see him being better than Chris Bosh because he's got a little bit more meat on him, and his footwork. Working with a Hall of Famer like Tim Duncan, he could be really one of the best in the league, challenging Anthony Davis, and
between Chip England, our shooting coach, and Tim Duncan on the block teaching him, there's definitely a good development team behind him right there.
Yeah, he's challenging Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid as the better bigs in the league. Those are the bigs. Not saying that they're both centers, but yeah, it's big. So I want Wiseman. That's all I'm saying.
Get Wiseman to the Spurs.
Mm-hmm. Now, another big story that's developing is that apparently Giannis Antetokounmpo said that he is willing and prepared to sign a long-term contract with the Miami Heat. Now, whether that's this year or next year when he's a free agent, I don't know. But by him saying that, man, whether if it's true or not,
that's all rumors.
Right. If it's true, that's big news because now if you're able to send him or if he's able to get to Miami and play with Jimmy Butler and you're able to keep those core guys around him, that's going to be tough.
So you think
that is going to be...
he'll force a trade or he'll just go in free agency? Like he'll play his last year out with the Bucks and then just walk?
I think he'll probably play his last year out with the Bucks because if he tries to force a trade, they're going to send him to somewhere bad, probably.
But that's dumb business, though.
It is. It is dumb business.
That's just spiteful. You got to do what's best for your franchise.
Right. So, and my thing is, who are you going to trade him for, especially if you know that he's going to just walk? Because if you try to trade him to Miami, Miami's not going to give up, Jimmy Butler or Bam.
Yeah, it'd be.
I mean, those
zero,
are really
none.
Yeah, but really the only two guys you could possibly give up is, Jimmy or Bam or for Giannis. So
I'd say the Bucks doing it without Bam in the deal, though. Like I know they would have like an AD situation where he's forcing his way to the Lakers, but he's with Miami with Giannis in Miami, but. I still don't think the Bucks. I mean, they have to hold fort and demand Bam in the deal.
Right. So I think Giannis ends up staying. I know the Bucks have also inquired with the Raptors about getting Lowry. Well, I'm like, if you're Lowry, why the heck would you want to go to the Bucks?
That's a good pickup, definitely.
It would be a good pickup. Don't get me wrong. And I don't know, maybe that helps Eric Bledsoe revamp his career in Toronto, although probably not. But
I definitely trust Lowry in the playoffs more than I do Bledsoe.
Oh, of course. I totally agree with you. So I just don't see that happening. Now, the Warriors have also picked interest in getting Giannis, but Giannis doesn't have any interest of going out there, apparently, which if he went out there, I don't think that would be
I think he saw
smart.
what happened to Durant and all the trash talking and all the hit that his legacy took. I don't think he didn't do the same thing.
Right. Which he would take a hit going to Miami too. But not to the extreme. He would take a hit. Granted, Miami wasn't the Warriors and they didn't win 60 or 70 plus games and almost win a championship, but they were in the finals. And they're still a good young team. So him going there, it's just kind of like if they did, and Miami did take them out in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that. So it would be sort of like that, but not to the extreme. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but he would definitely help. Definitely help him, Bam, Butler. It depends if Dragic resigns, and
if he can stay healthy.
And then I think Robinson starts too, with Hero coming off the bench and Nunn. Although I think they'll probably try to get something for Nunn because Nunn's a good player. Yeah, first of all, Nunn is a good rebounder for a guard.
Yeah.
Nunn is a very good rebounder. So, yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to work it out to where they're going to keep that man. But
because I don't know if they're going to resign him long term. I mean, depends on what they do with Dragic too. But I'm sure Dragic will sign like a 1 year or 2 years. I don't think he has that much left.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Now, one last thing before we end it, I meant to mention. So with the going back to Minnesota, with them possibly trading that first number 1 overall pick, Brandarius brought up a good point earlier when we were talking. Devin Booker is friends with both D'Lo and Karl Anthony Towns. Do you try to trade that number 1 pick to the Suns to get Devin Booker? I said no if you're Devin Booker, because there's been speculations he wanted to get out of there, but the way they were clicking, I think they're going to do some things this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he goes to Minnesota, now you kind of have to, revamp that roster too, because their bench is terrible.
Yeah.
So what say you?
All offense, no defense at all between those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just all.
So I don't think that's smart.
The rumors have been always Booker's has never been happy in Phoenix. He always wants out. I mean, that's what everybody always has said. And eventually he's going to leave. So, I mean, and then Minnesota obviously is desperate to keep Towns. That's why they got D'Lo. And
right.
And they've always talked about them 3 potentially playing together. So I think if you try to do everything you possibly can to get them, but I don't think they have enough assets to get them, honestly.
Right. And I think if they wouldn't have had the time, the run that they did in the bubble with Booker and the Suns going 8-0, then I would say he'd probably be like, all right, I need to get out of here. But I think he's looking at the roster and they got some nice pieces. So moving forward, I think that they will be all right. So, but anyway, guys, that is the show. We got another good one. Had another good one.
Always.
Absolutely. You can always catch us on Breaker. You can catch us on Radio Public. You can catch us on Google Podcasts. You can catch us on Spotify. And you can catch us on Anchor.fm. And also check out the show on YouTube under Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. Again, Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And also follow the social media at SVF Sports Talk, Twitter, Instagram. That's what we do.
We're everywhere.
And it's who we am. I wanted to rhyme. That didn't make no sense. Bars. Bars. So, yes, sir. We again thank Brandarius Gilmore for being on here. Definitely going to have him on again. G-Reg, as always, my brother. Thank you so much for being on here. Good to see you.
Always.
Cowboys. It's always going to be like that.
We just know we're in for a long season, potentially a long future.
Fire Jerry Jones. Anyway, y'all be safe. Please wear your mask, or else the runner gonna get your ass. We gonna catch y'all next time on that.
Stats versus facts. Ayy. Stats versus facts. Ayy. Know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy.